This is Cairo. I was able to watch the Clippers versus Suns today. Well, yesterday. And I mainly watched the second half. I wasn't paying attention much to the first half because I was doing homework. I'm going to be pretty busy for the next few weeks. I have other things to do involving school and clubs. So I will still be making videos, but it most likely be individual videos from certain playoff games. And most of my videos will be unedited and just me giving my thoughts. Like I said before, I didn't watch much of the first half. I was doing work. But what I noticed in the first half is that the Clippers got to an early lead. They were really going at it. I'm pretty sure Eric Gordon hit some shots. Obviously, Kawhi. Westbrook didn't play as good, but they were they were doing pretty good. I think they were up as most as 16, and they were Zubac was really killing the glass he was getting out there, and I noticed the Suns were settling a lot in the first half, and they were letting Aiden shoot, which works here and there. He's a decent mid-range shooter. He could be better, but they started to do that, and then the second half came, which is where I paid most of my attention to. The entire game, but mainly the second half, was extremely scrappy. That's one of the big things I would call this game. Like if I were to say how to describe this game in one word, it would be very scrappy. People were falling all over the floor. People were hustling. This is what you like to see in a playoff game, a playoff atmosphere. Guys, your superstar guys going out there and playing and just diving for balls. And even if it's the first round, they're still going at it. It was very scrappy. And one thing I definitely have to highlight is the hustle and effort of Russell Westbrook. He was one of the biggest reasons why they won. Russell Westbrook is probably one of the only players in NBA history to shoot like 3 of 19 or like 4 of 28 and still be one of the biggest impactful players in the game. His ability to rebound, to hustle back on defense, to really pick apart defenses from behind is just really amazing. He's one of the best rebounding point guards we've ever seen. He really gets out there. And I'm pretty sure Paul George mentioned in a podcast like a few weeks ago that he like doesn't even lift weights. He's just naturally built like that, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Westbrook, I gotta give props to him because in the beginning of the game, I'm pretty sure KD could not shoot over him. What I noticed Westbrook, what he was doing all over the game was he was tending to let people go past him or players go past him, and he would try to pick them apart from behind, which works in some aspect depending on the player you're playing against. But when you're against superstars, sometimes that doesn't work as much. It's something that Matisse Thybulle does. Matisse is very good at getting behind defenders, getting beat, and because of his long arms, he can get steals. So that's what Westbrook was doing, and it worked towards the end. And I do think the shot at the end that he did was sort of a foul on Devin Booker, like the one where he technically blocked a shot, but either way, he played really good defense, and he was just hustling out there. So yeah, he played good. Obviously, Kawhi, really great. He was hitting a bunch of clutch shots out there. They were double teaming him, trying to like force him to get away from the ball. What the Suns were doing is that they put any defender on him, and they didn't even look at the ball. They just made sure Kawhi just didn't get out of their sight, and it worked for a little bit until they realized they had to look at the ball. And then Kawhi started to hit some shots. He had this really great play where it was he was getting triple teamed and he just chucked the ball to Eric Gordon, and Eric Gordon hit a deep three, which really changed the momentum for the Clippers. So that was really good. Kawhi played amazing. I think he had like 38 points. Same with Eric Gordon. It's actually kind of funny because when Eric Gordon is right at the three-point line, it seems like he can never make a three-point shot. But when he's near half court, he can just swish it all the time. So that's kind of weird. Eric Gordon had like around 19 points, I would say. He played really good. However, one thing I would say that the Clippers need to work on is their adjustments and who they utilize in the second half. What I mean by this is that like when you watch the Clippers, they were up 16 for a reason. In the second half, they lost that lead and that dwindled down because Norman Powell was one of the biggest X factors for them in this game and all throughout the whole season. He's one of the best six men in the league. And he was utilized heavily in the first half, just getting to the mid-range. And in the second half, he was almost a non-factor, being just an outside shooter, which then created an issue for the Clippers. And the Suns didn't have to worry about him because he was just going to stand on the three-point line, which forced the Suns to make an easier comeback. So Clippers have to work on that. They have to use their other players out there. You know, when Kawhi can't get a shot, or Eric Gordon, or even Westbrook, you got to utilize your other players. Let some other players eat. So I'll say Tyronn Lue has to make that adjustment a little bit earlier, because if he did, the game wouldn't have been as close. I also have to note the Clippers' center attack was Zubac and Plumlee. Plumlee had a weird finger injury. It was really bad. If you look back at it, even Nick Batum looked at him like he was crazy. It was bad. I'm pretty sure he did return in the game, though. But, yeah, they tend to use Plumlee and Zubac. They're both really good rebounders. And, yeah, I thought Zubac played pretty well, but sometimes he was getting beat. And if you notice what the Suns did, the Suns tend to slow down their offense in the half court, and the minute they get baseline, they rush the baseline because they want to pull Zubac to the perimeter, and they'll either have an open lane because Zubac is a little bit slow, or they'll just kick it out because then Zubac and a few other players would close that gap, and then they would have a shot on the perimeter. It was a really interesting defensive game plan from the Suns, I would say, and if you watch my previous video on my predictions, I did say I said with Paul George, I see the Clippers winning in 6 or 7. That's just how I see it. The main reason why I see that is because the bench production for the Suns is just too much. When you have guys like Chris Paul, TJ Warren, Kevin Durant, who are all a little bit on the older side in the starting lineup, and they're exerting so much energy to try to win the game, they're going to get exhausted. It happened with KD last season with the Nets, and how, he lost and he played every minute against the Bucks team, and then he couldn't hit a shot in overtime against the Bucks, which forced him to lose. So I would say I had the Clippers because of their depth and their defensive matchup. I just liked it better than the Suns. But the Suns were still in this. The Suns came back for a reason. They utilize all their assets to the best of their ability, and they try to capitalize on the Clippers' mishaps. I was mainly watching Devin Booker and KD, and I noticed that they both played their game. Devin Booker was out there hustling a little bit more than how I expected, which is a good sign from him. And KD was just hitting his shots. I'm not sure how much he scored in the second half, though. I'm not sure if he did as well in the second half. But I know he had like 27, and he played pretty good for most of the game. And with Chris Paul, I feel like Chris Paul had a Chris Paul type of game. He had like 10 points but 11 assists. It's what he does, but, I know he's older, but you kind of expect maybe a little bit more from him. That mid-range action is very deadly, so maybe get to his free throw line, jump shot, and try to hit it. That's what I would like to see more from the Suns. They utilize Ayton in a pick and pop, but instead Ayton would take mid-range shots, and it worked here and there. Ayton, I like that he's confident. I really do like that even when he misses in big moments, he's still not afraid to go at it, which, is a sign of a lot of confidence, which could help them in this series. So I'd say Ayton, he was on and off, but I feel like Zubac was kind of overpowering him this game, from what I saw. I still could be wrong from the box scores, but who knows. But yeah, I thought this game was really fun to watch. It was elite three-point shooting towards the end of the fourth quarter, too. Both teams were hitting a bunch of clutch shots, especially three-point shots towards the end of the fourth quarter, which made it a really interesting game. And the atmosphere it felt really alive. That's what I love about the playoffs. Almost every atmosphere, no matter how big or small the fans are, the atmosphere is just there. And it's really fun to watch because everybody's also hustling. You can hear the crowd. You can hear the music. It's a great experience. But yeah, that was my review. I still have the Clippers in 6 or 7. Paul George isn't going to be healthy for this series. The Suns, I like their game plan with Ayton here and there because Zubac is going to play drop coverage, and they tend to like to attack the baseline and have Zubac either force him to the perimeter or close out and then kick out, which did work, which helped them come back. But yeah, I thought it was a great game, and we'll see what's next for the series.